Well, welcome everybody to Living Free in Tennessee, where we talk about muting your phone and living the life we want to live on our terms. Whose phone just went off?
That was Telegram.
Okay, can you mute your phone, please? Because it's just going to keep going. Anyway, today we're doing a live podcast recording, and I know some of you were waiting to see this. For those of you who are tuned in, can you do me a favor and put the link to this live stream in the Telegram and the MeWe group? Anyway, today is both a Holler neighbor live stream and a podcast episode because without internet and power, I didn't record a podcast yesterday. So I figured we'd get that done. So unlike some of the Holler neighbor live streams, we have a little bit of an outline. So it's not completely freeform. So before I jump into the content, though, I do want to remind you, if you want to reach me or with questions or comments, you can do that. Nicole at livingfreeintennessee.com, or go to livingfreeintennessee.com, click on contact, fill out the show notes. And then I have one more announcement. The Rogue Food Conference 2021 it's June 5th in, I think, Lewisburg. It's close to Lewisburg. It's at a farm there. If you go to roguefoodconference.com.org, don't know. Anyway, I'll have a link in the show notes for you. You can sign up and get tickets now. They're selling fast. So he has not officially announced the Rogue Food Conference tickets being on sale, but yesterday they were flying off the shelf, and I didn't have internet really to tell you about it, but there is a discount code. It's LFIT30, gets you a discount on the Rogue Food Conference. Again, it's June 5th. They're having, before the Rogue Food Conference on Friday, they're having a workshop that you can attend. Then there's a VIP dinner Friday night, and then the conference itself is on Saturday. So when you see the different kinds of tickets, you can buy the whole weekend package. You can just go Saturday. You can do dinner and Saturday. Lots of different things to choose from. I'll be speaking on Saturday, and of course, we are serving Holler roast coffee there. Okay, with that, I'm going to jump into the main content of today's show, main topic, and that is Holler Neighbors Lessons Learned from Icemegeddon 2021. How you guys doing?
All right.
Who's on today? We got Jenny, who right before this said, I'm going to take a shower while I still have power. So she's all dolled up. The rest of us look like a bunch of hacks, right? Because we've been here without power or water. And we've got Nighthawk.
Yep.
And Tactical Redneck's here, but he's not on video because his back hurts and he doesn't want to be on my couch. But I made him get close to get to the microphone. If you have questions in the chat, just go ahead and put them in all caps. So how do you guys think we did? You know, A through F, what do we get as a score for this week? Getting ready for the storm, dealing with the cold, the power outages, all of that.
I think we were fine.
Is that an A or an F or a C?
At least a B.
We get a B from Tactical. What do you think?
I'm going to say B, maybe B minus.
B minus? What do you say?
Yeah, I'm going to say B, but I have a personal letter too on that because...
You have a personal letter?
Yeah, if it wasn't for you guys, I would have probably at least been a D.
Yeah, okay.
I'll give myself some credit. Yeah.
She's giving herself a D. Barely passed the class. But with us here, you get a B.
Yeah.
But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So before the ice storm came, we had a lot more notice than usual. Usually an ice storm like this comes, we have 3 to 4 days. Boom. We get the ice storm, right? This time it was like, what happened? It was like, oh, it's going to be really flipping cold, right? Really, really flipping cold. And it'll be really flipping cold in 3 days. And we scurried around like rabbits trying to get ready, right? What'd we do?
Did all the stuff. Now, one of the things that did work in our favor with that is they kept pushing it back a day or two.
Yeah, so it started with like 3 days, and then it was 5 days, and then it added a week, and then it added 10 days. And by the end of it, we're like, okay, we wish it would just get here already, right? Is that how you felt?
Yeah, if it was coming, it needed to just come on.
Yeah. And then it landed. So going in, we did a lot of things like get extra firewood. What else? Make sure the fuel was topped off for storage. Thought about which houses we're going to drain. And then I think it was the day before the freeze really started hitting or ice hit. Tell us about the meeting. The Saturday morning meeting or Sunday morning meeting we had.
Yeah. So it was actually really short and efficient, which was nice. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of talking. We just said these are the things that need to be done, and and made stuff start happening.
Yeah, we just did a list and we went through each house and each person's needs and what each person could do and divided and conquered. And then these two did all the work, right?
There was also,
Most
looking
of
at
it.
what assets we did have and where we were going to pre-stage those assets to fit the needs that were there.
Yeah, so what did we put where and why?
Put kerosene heaters and a propane heater at base camp, plus an extra generator. Move gas cans that were over there to over here. Left some of them over there. Made sure we had a kerosene heater in the pump house, plus wood for the rocket mass. Got the big generator up the hill.
We have, so Nighthawk apologized to me for bringing the power outages and the storms with him from Pennsylvania. And I said, well, at least you came with a big generator too. So it kind of makes up for that. And guys in the comments, all caps, if you have a comment for us. And hi, David, welcome to the live stream. Yeah, so he has this, was it 8,000 watts?
8,000.
It'll run all my freezers and fridges. We staged
At
it
the
up
same
here,
time.
and it will run my water because when we don't have power, I don't have water, nor does Tactical. When it gets cold, Nighthawk doesn't have water. Why?
My water lines freeze, so I just drain it.
Yeah.
So I drained my water Saturday
Why do your lines freeze?
because it's the south, and they thought it was a good idea to run the water line above ground in spots.
The South is not built for cold. He has a water line from the well to his house that sometimes goes above ground, sometimes for several feet. It's because digging ditches here isn't easy. Why are digging ditches here not easy? Or why is digging ditches? It's like, which one's the subject?
Rock.
Big
Lots of rock.
old boulders. We were talking about putting a storage tank above my house today. Tactical's like, we could dig it underground. I'm like, there's a rock the size of my house right there. So we might need to dig it underground somewhere else besides that rock. Or we need dynamite. Those are the two options.
I'm good with the dynamite.
I'm not sure. What else am I going to crack with the dynamite?
That sounds like fun.
So, yeah, we had that meeting, and then we were basically ready. And some other things I thought about going in, and I'm going to go around the horn on this. Knowing that no power means no water, I kept a pitcher of water full in my sink so that I could easily give the dogs water. I filled my bathtub with water for flushing the toilet and made sure I had water storage. What other things did you guys think of going in?
I was kind of in the same boat with, topping off all the water, making sure all of my battery backup packs were charged, making sure I had, I started days before this stacking wood inside the house.
Yeah.
Just so that I wouldn't have to be going outside lugging wood in.
What about you, Nighthawk? Would you do anything to get ready?
Got extra wood up to the house, charged up all the battery packs, filled every pot and jug I had at the house with water before I turned it off.
Yes, so it's the filling of the water. What about you?
Mostly as far as what I didn't do a lot, I made sure I had my water storage full and filled the Berkey because I didn't know if I would lose water or not over there, which I didn't.
No, you have city
And
water.
I do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and then I went and bought lots of cans of soup. That's it.
Okay, that's cool. Cans of soup will get you through, and you can eat them cold if you can't heat them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I also made sure I ended my days with a bath so that if there was no water, it was as clean as possible before the next thing. That's also really important, as Jenny has pointed out.
Yeah.
She doesn't get hot water if the power goes out.
I had hot
How
water.
many
you
times
did?
was
Oh,
there?
Oh, it stayed hot?
Mhm.
Nice.
I didn't use a lot of it though.
How many times was the statement made? I'm gonna do this before the power goes out.
Yeah.
Once an hour.
Yeah, there was a checklist. Oh, I'm going to do this before. I'm going to get the dishes done. I'm going to cook the thing. I'm going to fill the bathtub. Okay, so what holes? I'm going to go around the horn, starting with you, Jenny. What holes did you find in your preparations getting ready for this?
All of them. I didn't have any source of heat or light or anything. Well, I had flashlights, but any substantial anything. I didn't. No way to cook except for if I wanted to get my rack from downstairs and start a fire outside. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do differently by next year?
make sure I have all the things that I need.
Have you thought about what you're going to get?
I have a whole list of
What is it?
things.
Tell me some of the
I wish I would've
highlights.
brought. So first of all, easier foods. I mean, I know soup's an easy food, but easier foods for the kids, so that I'm not cooking huge meals when I'm cooking. And then definitely, probably I would go propane heat. Oh, I don't know if I have to check the cost effectiveness over kerosene heat, just because the smell is not as strong. And
she had kerosene heat.
yeah, and just so for me, like the two things was just being able to eat and stay warm. Like the other stuff are luxuries in thinking about moving forward. So
yeah, I have to say, so David's on the live chat. He sent me a picture that he put, you know, that you see that you can heat a whole room with a terracotta pot upside down and the candles, which is true if the room's really small and well insulated, from what I understand. But they do put heat out, because what the candles do is heat up the mass, and then that radiates heat. What he did, because he's the master plant guy and has pots and like really fancy ones with little window openings and stuff, he put different types of candles and lamps into these terracotta things around his house, because he was out of heat for almost 3 days in Texas. One night it was 5 degrees. He's electric heat, I believe, at his house. And so the whole family was in one room, but he had these staged with the doors open under all the bathroom sinks to try to keep his pipes from freezing. Because where you would have been, had it gone on too long and your house gotten really cold, is then we were going to be worried about the pipes freezing. Yeah. And I heard from him today that worked. He has some pictures up on Facebook just about, you know, showing some of the different ways he kept things from freezing. And so far I haven't heard of any burst pipes from my buddy David. How about you? What holes did you find in your preps?
Need more kerosene.
Need more kerosene, yes. The thing about kerosene in our area is if you go into a storm like this with all of your kerosene full, that's great, because once something like this is rumored to start coming or does come, guess what happens?
Everybody panics.
Everybody panics and they sell out of kerosene. So I did top the kerosene this fall in November for that reason. And then I think we had used some back in November when we had that 16-degree day. And then other than that, we were pretty much topped off. So it could have been worse. But it would have been nice to have a little bit more. We may need to get one more tank. David said, so far, so good. He's turned off the water for 4 houses in this area that had water spray. Oh, so his neighbors didn't fare so well. Luckily, they live next to the great David, who knows how to turn off water mains. You probably have that little tool too, don't you? That turns them off. Okay, what holes did you find in your preps?
Mine was mostly luxury items. Like, my normal way to make coffee is a French press, which worked perfectly fine, but it's kind of a pain to clean with no running water.
Yeah.
So, like, an easier method of cleaning for making coffee. But, I mean, I've got multiple propane stoves, lanterns, flashlights, stacks of batteries. I did already order a couple of longer heavy gauge extension cords, just because I've never had the need to run that far until I moved here. But now the nice part about having the big generator is we can park the generator in between Nicole's house, the cabin, and the roasting shed. And that generator is big enough to run extension cords to all of the stuff in all 3 of those buildings and power everything up at the same time. The downfall is you need that many extension cords, which we don't necessarily have.
Yeah. Yes, base camp is, Mark asks, is base camp piping all Pecks? Yes, it is, but we still don't want it to freeze, because sometimes those brass fittings in Pecks also crack.
I think those are also only rated to freeze 7 times.
Yeah, only rated to freeze 7 times. They've got to have that. Okay, some holes in my preps. One, I have this really cool like hurricane lantern that takes oil. Would be really good to have oil on hand for it. Luckily, Tactical had oil for my lantern, so that when the power went out, I had battery ones, but it's, you know, it's a little nicer to have that oil one, and it lasts a really long time. So I'm probably going to get some more of those, because I used to have 2 and 1 broke. and having the oil on hand, it doesn't take much to have light for a really long time, and it does add a little bit of heat, although heat isn't my worry because I have a wood stove. What else? I figured out some really cool hacks. So that's the biggest haul I had.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything else I really missed.
I guess the one other alibi from that, just this is more for us, was comms in between the houses.
Oh, yeah. So that was a big hole. We need walkie-talkies that will actually work, because when the internet's down, Zello doesn't work and Telegram doesn't work. And the one thing that still worked was the cell network. So I was actually calling people on the phone. Hey, and like literally Tactical's maybe 100 feet away or 150 feet away in his cabin. I'm phoning him to say, hey, can you bring the XYZ thing up? I also would like to stock more salt just for anti-ice factors. Okay, any interesting hacks that you guys figured out while we were off grid for a whole day? Twice this week. Any hacks?
If I put the percolator on the wood stove, it preheats the water for me.
Yep, you can preheat the water on your wood stove. What do you got? Nothing?
Nothing.
You're going to hang blankets on your windows next time?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'll at least have that stuff if I decide to do it. I can.
I had a whole bunch of hacks come up. So the wood stove water heating, I have a big it's a 3-gallon enamel pot for making cheese that I filled with water. And it wasn't super hot on the wood stove, but it was warm. So I could then scoop some out and wash my hands and face or use it for dishes. And then I figured out that like you don't need running water for dishes, right? If you have 2 sinks or have a vessel in a sink in your case. So I was able to then use that water to do the dishes and to rinse the dishes. And that made the whole thing better, which would actually solve your problem with the French press.
Yeah.
Just to be able to just soap up. So that was really cool. And I think I'm going to keep doing that moving forward because I've been really frustrated with my water. My hot water takes 2.5 gallons to get from the water heater to my kitchen sink. And I have an on-demand water heater. And that means that it's heating 2.5 gallons before I start to get hot water. So if I'm doing dishes by hand in the winter, I've already got the wood stove on. I might as well just start with that hot water and use it for washing the hand dishes. And then, of course, when I do dishes with the dishwasher, that comes from the on-demand, and it is what it is. It takes 2.5 gallons of water to get there, which is significant. It's way too long. I am going to eventually address that with a plumber, but we're not dealing with that right now. The other hack I figured out was, what was my other hack? You don't remember?
You just told me.
Oh, no. Boiling water for coffee. So I use a pour over cone instead of my espresso maker. And this is just common sense, but I forget things. Like when I was growing up, that's what we did at grandma's house. You boil the water, you pour it in a thermos, and then you don't have to reboil the water. I've gotten to this habit of using my electric kettle, boil the water, use it. Later in the day, boil the water again. With the thermos, you just boil it once, pour it in there. And I think I'm going to use that moving forward. If I make water for tea, I'll just top the thermos, and then I have the thermos for the rest of the day if I want another tea. So those 2 things I actually think I'm going to fold into my day-to-day life. You guys going to fold anything into your day-to-day from this?
I don't know about that, but 2 things I did in prep for this was I actually cleaned my bathroom sink really well, like sterilized. Not that it was dirty, but like sanitized it. And topped my kitchen sink and my bathroom sink with water so that I could wash dishes, do an initial rinse in the kitchen sink, and then do a final rinse in the bathroom sink.
Yeah.
And then because my doors don't seal very well, they need to be reframed. I picked the worst of the 2 for, the deep freeze and taped the door off with painter's tape to close off the air gap, which helped dramatically to keep the place a bit warmer.
Yeah, I think it's really fun to have this kind of a test of preps, which was a non-deadly one, because in a worst case scenario, if base camp had gone down y'all could have come here and been warm and had everything you needed, but you just didn't need to do that. It's really nice. I think the strongest thing we had going was 4 households, all able to communicate with each other. And I see Mark is suggesting apps that run on your phone to allow communications over Wi-Fi without internet. That wasn't the problem. We had no power, so we had no Wi-Fi, right? So then we just had to use phones. And walkie-talkie would have been really nice if the phone had gone out. We've already faced this problem once when the tornadoes took both the power and all the phones out. So we've now been told twice we need walkie-talkies by Mother Nature, and I think we're going to finally get that done. But I found the strength of having multiple families really helpful. What do you guys think?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And why?
I mean, one of the biggest things is, you have a generator, Nighthawk has a generator, but each generator is better suited for different applications. And we're using his generator at your house and your generator somewhere else.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is on this road, we also have people who might need help. And we did end up reaching out to one of my neighbors, and she only has electric heat. And then she has some gas heaters, but they were really cold. And the other neighbor next to her was at her house, so they consolidated. We were able to bring them an extra heater. Did we ever go top off the fridge or no?
No.
No, the power came
We were
back
going to
on.
bring my generator, which is a portable one, down to get their fridge cold, but then the power came back on. So we didn't need to do that. David says an old school phone line stretches between different houses, and it's an on-demand intercom. So we could totally just hardwire. That's totally true. And if we do that, David, you're going to come help put it in and do a workshop about that, right? Anyway, so Jenny, you had an interesting thought about relocation and people thinking about moving to other places. Tell us more about that.
I just thought, so in our community, we have a lot of people from other places talking about moving to Tennessee, like watching how we handle the situation, because it's very different being cold here, having ice here than it is in other places. You're not prepared for it. So you kind of have to have your preps at home. You have to be ready to stay at home and stuff. You can't just get out on the road. Like, we don't keep the equipment and stuff here to take care of that. But just watching the weather, how people handle it, so you can figure out what you might need to be prepared for when you relocate to this area. Like, I think that is helpful. Really across all seasons. And that was a thing, like, me and the boys have talked about doing some off-grid days every season, just because we need to see where the holes in our preps are. So people who haven't moved here yet, like, if you're watching what's happening right now, then you know what to be prepared for when you do relocate.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's different everywhere. People in the north make fun of us when ice storms come. Well, okay, so our trees have not been subject to this abuse every year, right? It's been, I guess, at least 4, maybe 5 years since we had a snow and ice incident. And that means all the branches that could fall off didn't until now. And then they all fell off. And at one point, I'm pretty sure about half the service area of our electric provider was out of power simply because lines broke. There were trees down everywhere and lines everywhere. And, next year, if we get another ice storm, we're in better shape because we broke all the trees this year, right? But when you've had 5 years to get weak trees again, then you're in trouble. I'm seeing David says, he's totally moving. Mine has been made. Yeah, see, it's funny how Mother Nature gives you messages. We need walkie-talkies. You need to move. It's a different message for everybody. Eric's saying you can get $20 ones. Yes, I know. I think Tactical has one walkie-talkie, which is a problem.
CB.
It's a CB. Oh, yeah. There used to be a CB here, but I sold it. Wood heat is the best, by far, in the country, the best prep I've ever put in place. And when I moved to this house, there was no heat. So I was using some of the kerosene heaters that we tried to get up and running that didn't get up and running were my primary heat here originally. And then I had to decide HVAC unit or wood heat, and finally decided wood heat, in part because of price. It was about $300, about $800 total install with the chimney before I got my super awesome stove. And that was used here for 8 years before I upgraded to a $2,000 soapstone stove that is way better than the other one was. But it was a budgetary thing, right? I got it done. But then what ended up being like the happy byproduct is I can cook on it. I can heat with it. And because I use it all the time, I know how to use it. So when this comes through and we have no power, the only thing in my life that really changes besides not having internet, right, and not being able to record my podcast, because I didn't want to upload that over cell, is that the water's not running. And that's a minor thing compared to if I also didn't have heat and a whole other host of things, right? Because I'm just heating the same way I am, and light's a little less convenient because I kept turning on, did anybody else do that? I need to go into this room. Yep, it's still dark in this room. That switch did absolutely nothing. This morning, I knew the power was out, and you can see behind me the lettuce grow operation. It's on a timer. The lights come on and off, and I'm like, why aren't those lights on? I'm over there trying to figure out what I did wrong with the timer and find it. I'm like, it's as if it's not getting any power. Oh, yeah. I was awake when the power went off earlier, but I'd just forgotten that the power was out, because when you don't need it for the heat and some other things, then you don't notice that it's off.
Yeah, I'd set the alarm for 5 today to feed the wood stove.
Yeah.
Alarm went off. Woke up. It's nice and warm in this bed. It's nice and quiet. Do I really want to get out? It's really quiet. It should not be this quiet. I should hear the fan in front of the wood stove running. And look over, look at the clock. Clock's off. Damn it, we're out of power.
Power went off again. Yeah, I was up working on my wood stove when it went off, and a light went off, so I knew what it. And I get that beep every time it happens. One of my things beeps on the way off. I don't know what it is, so I should figure that out. I see Sugar Creek Homestead says, I'm unfortunately having to haul water, but blessed to have this wonderful life-saving spring. Yep, that's my backup plan. We store a lot of water in half-gallon glass jugs here. And I topped off like the Berkey, the kettle, the pot on the stove, the pitcher in the sink, the bathtub, right? I have all that available. But if this goes on for a long time, I do have to haul buckets of water up from the creek. It's something that I hope to fix long-term by putting a storage tank above the house so it can gravity feed down. But I haven't done that yet. So my mom was really worried I'd run out of water at 5 o'clock at night and then have to go get it in the dark from the creek. And I said, Mom, if I'm in a power down situation, that's not happening. The only reason that would happen is there was some other crisis, because what I'm doing by about 11 o'clock in the morning is what do I need to do before it's dark so I don't have to deal with stuff in the dark that I don't want to deal with in the dark, which I think, does that annoy you guys that I do that?
No.
A little bit?
I prefer to not do stuff in the dark.
Yeah. They always looked annoyed because I'm like, okay, we got to do this stuff before dark. We got to top off the fridge. We got to make sure dinner's ready. I was we had crepe night on Fat Tuesday, which is a tradition, and we're not expecting to have power. I also have a dog turning off all of my lights and unplugging all my things who just got lifted up. But Jenny was like, are we still having crepes? Are you going to cook them on the wood stove? And I'm like, well, I got a gas stove.
I totally forgot.
So I'm good on that. And yeah, we're just going to have them earlier so I don't have to do dishes after dark. And then the power came back on and I got to have them a little bit later after dark. But we had crepes after the first one. Where are you sourcing your glass gallon jars? They're half-gallon jars. And I throw a lot of parties. And I buy whiskey by the half-gallon to serve at the parties. And then we save those glass jars. So it basically looks like I'm the biggest boozer in the entire world in my water storage, but I don't care. Maybe I am the world's biggest boozer, guys. What do you think? Probably not.
Another good source for that is if you go to any brewing supply store, they sell 1 gallon carboys, and it's like, I think it's a 28 millimeter cap. The caps are like $2-3, and the jars are like, I don't know, $5 or $6. I have a lot of those, so I was also using those for water storage too.
I see Brian's asking, where are the thermostats that are usually behind us in the video? And I'd just like to say, I haven't seen you here putting them on that plaque for me, but when you're ready to come do that, you are totally welcome. I'll feed you dinner that day.
Thermostats are all frozen.
The thermostats are all frozen right now. The other way you can get glass jugs is you can buy growlers of beer, that are refillable at breweries.
Yeah.
And the growlers are usually like $8 or something, like the bottle itself. Those are great for water storage, as long as you don't put them somewhere where they freeze and they break everywhere or drop them. So I like to store my water in glass, but the fact of the matter is, if you have a bunch of clumsy people around you, you may want to think about plastic. If I was going to have to prepare for a longer off-grid, no running water thing here, I would get some bigger storage tanks for water for in my house, because, it's amazing how much water you go through when you want to do dishes and want to wash your face and brush your teeth and make coffee and cook food. The little half-gallon ones are great, but I'm pretty sure I would want about 10 gallons of water a day up here. And having a way to get, kind of just all the paint at one time running up and down the hill into a bigger storage container would be really, really nice.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have all the drinking water I have in old iced tea jugs.
Yeah.
And I have a couple of the cat litter jugs. I forget the ones with the handle.
Oh, yeah. So I get cat litter in jugs and buckets.
And then I take that, and they hold a little over 2 gallons. I use that for the non-potable water.
Yeah.
So
because you can flush the toilet with that.
That will flush the toilet, and if I start running out of drinking water, it just goes through the Berkey.
So I'm really thankful that this went so well. It was I talked to you guys on the podcast about getting ready for it, and then it happened, and I was like, okay, this is good. We know what the holes are. We're not going to die, right? And we have an idea of where we may want to prepare. At the same time, I looked at historical data of coldest day of the year, because we were heading into a single-digit night originally, which then it was really weird. It was like 13 to 15 up in Smithville, which is about 8.5 miles from here or 10 miles from here. It didn't get below, 18 that night?
19, I think.
19 degrees. So somehow being in the hollow for this storm, it's happened one other time this year, we didn't get cold the way other people got cold, which I was really thankful for, because it's easier to keep the house warm. But I looked at historical data, and in 1996, it was negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit here. For those of you who are in Celsius, just trust me, that's really cold for Tennessee. We are not ready for that. My pipes I would have had to drain the house, like even with electricity, I would have had to drain the house and turned everything off and drained out all the water heaters if I knew that was coming. And if I didn't, I would be like running heaters in that room. But we kind of talked, what did we think we'd do if we were facing a negative 20 night?
Probably consolidating everybody here.
Bring everybody here?
Or at least down to 2 houses.
Yeah, close the doors. What would we do with the animals?
That's a good question.
Oh. Which one of your houses gets the animals? You get them in the basement.
Yeah, that'd be
The
great.
pigs would be going in her basement. It'd be perfect.
I think they
I
would
don't want to think about walking the pigs down the road.
Okay.
That
We
would not
probably
be
wouldn't put the pigs in her basement. But we might have to think about the workshop, putting them in the workshop.
I don't know if I want to put them there.
Yeah.
I just give them more hay.
I just
All
like
the
the-
hay.
All the hay.
The big smile on tactical space over there.
Yeah. I'm going to have to be the one to clean it up afterwards.
CC is joining the YouTube live stream, and she'd like to say hello. Okay, so Mark Alexander says we got down to the single digits Monday and possibly tonight. Yeah, we're going to get colder tonight, although tomorrow night it looks colder, and none of it is so cold that I'm worried about if I can drip my faucets freezing, because I have pipes in my attic that freeze that someday we may have a better solution for than dripping the faucets, but right now the solution is to drip the faucets. Anything else, guys, to talk about before we say goodbye to everybody? Okay, if you like the show and want to support the work I do, you can do it in 2 ways. One, get your coffee at hollerroast.com. And I totally will roast it sometime in the next 2 days if I can. Now that I have power, I'm roasting again. I had to stop roasting because it was too cold without heat in there to get the roast right. So even though we could run the roaster with the generator, we couldn't run the roaster and a heater. So you can do that, hollerroast.com. 2, you can become a member over at livingfreeintennessee.com. We just go over there and click on membership. With that, guys, go out, make it a great week. Where is Tactical Redneck's cheery face? Guys, on the live stream, you're still on. He's just giving you a piece on. Thanks for joining us. This is where we're at. I think my next order of business is I get to go take a bath now that I have water so I can look sexy like she does. See you guys later.